and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on October 31st, 2016. And well, actually, this Raw didn't come out all that bad. Last week's Raw, I basically said it was hot garbage. This week was not that bad. Then again, with how bad last week went, wasn't that hard for them to actually pull that off. They started off the show really hot with Goldberg coming out. He was about to cut the promo. He was about to cut a promo in response from the horrendous promo from the week before with Lesnar and Heyman. And by that I mean Heyman. In that case, very rare to ever say that about a Paul Heyman promo, him being, well, awful. But first of all, before that, it's like, please, with his music, only play the WCW theme at the beginning of each one, like his return, and then here where he comes out the next 2 weeks later. Like, the WCW theme is by far leaps and bounds better than his WWE theme. So the WCW theme it just comes off so much more menacing, so much more to the Goldberg character than his WWE theme did way back when they had to remake it and everything in that sense. So they bring him out, and they did this both times now, if you've noticed this. They bring him out to the WCW theme, and then when the promo's over with, they leave with the WWE theme. And you can tell the difference between both of them. Right before he was about to cut the promo, Heyman interrupts, and he basically redeems himself here in this case, because the crowd's chanting for Goldberg and everything. They're trying to portray Lesnar as the heel. They did a little bit better of a job with that one here. I like the aspect of Paul Heyman teasing that Brock Lesnar was there. They even play his music, and that he was going to come out there and confront Goldberg right then and there. And of course he doesn't come out, and it looks like he's going to go after Heyman, and lo and behold, what do they potentially tease? A Goldberg Rusev match? Yes. Maybe. Because Rusev comes out, starts cutting a promo on Goldberg. Goldberg, of course, attacks Rusev, slips after the first knee. You know what, I'm okay with this because the crowd stayed in it. The crowd was way behind this one. He knees him again, and then performs the jackhammer suplex on Rusev, and then immediately spears Paul Heyman to go along with it afterwards. Crowd popped huge. I like this segment. It came off so much better than the segment from the week before with Lesnar and Heyman. This makes up for it a little bit, so ups to that, I found that thoroughly enjoyable, and does get you into the match a little bit more, even though people who have watched it know what happened with that last match. Then again, like I said, with their match at WrestleMania 20, and it's even been said by both, or maybe not by both, but by at least Brock Lesnar, that he was unmotivated going into that match, and he even said that Goldberg himself didn't even care. So they kind of just went out there, did whatever. This time around, like, Goldberg wants to, wrestle in front of his kid and wife. They've never seen him do it. So he's, like, at least motivated to put on a good match with him and Brock. And then again, also, even after the match with him and Brock, a potential tease for him and Rusev would be an interesting program to go along with it. I like the aspect of how Rusev played off of the whole no superheroes type thing, and it's like, oh, Goldberg just wants to play superhero to the kids and everything in that sense. I liked how he healed up on that one. He played a heel very well on this one. The only problem that I had throughout the night was, one of the main problems I had throughout the night was, and you saw it with Rusev, you saw it with Roman Reigns, you saw it with Seth Rollins, you saw it with Kevin Owens, you saw it even with Charlotte to go along with it. You didn't see Sasha Banks. She was the only one that was quote unquote they played up the how injured they were from the Hell in a Cell matches. In general, like, everybody else walked out completely fine. We're just walking fine. We're all good. No limps, no nothing. We're good. We can have a match tonight. Sure, why not? Let's go ahead and do it. the only person that said anything about how they felt after the Cell match was Roman Reigns, saying that yeah, he's sore, but like he's not even walking around with a limp or anything. But he wanted to have a fight. He still wanted to have a fight. He was having and I'll talk about that one in a little bit to go along with it. But he was the only one that said anything about being sore from the night before. And like everybody else just kind of walked out there like, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. No ill effects from the Cell from last night. Whatevs. No, whatever. But yeah, that was my biggest pet peeve of the night. To go along with everything. You had Enzo Amore going up against Luke Gallows in what was a trick or street fight. And what you could also throw as an aspect of one step forward and two steps back when it comes to Gallows and Anderson. Because, well, they got the big tag win from the night before, and now let's make them look like fools again in this particular street fight. Though, again, you can even throw it out there that this is not even really part of their feud. It's just kind of a theme thing throughout the show to go along with everything. But still, like, people who remember the particular match, it's like, okay, they just put that match there to potentially embarrass Gallows and Anderson after they've gotten their win from the night before. It's like it felt like one step forward for how they were trying to build these guys, and then they take two steps back. Let's go back over here. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Not really. People will remember the match and everything to that sense. Enzo Amore goes over in an interesting street fight, to say the least, because it was all Halloween themed. So you had pumpkins all over the place. You had kendo sticks dressed, taped up like candy corn to go along with it, and you had a couple other aspects to go along with it throughout the Halloween potential themes. So, I mean, overall, it wasn't a bad street fight. It was just one of those things that it's like, why didn't you put Luke Gallows over in this case, or something in that sense, to go to build off of that win that they got last night in the tag match with Enzo and Cass. So it was one of those things that kind of came off a little bit weird. Up next, let's go ahead and talk about the Cruiserweight division in general. First of all, I'll talk about the TJ Perkins Kendrick match next. But you had Rich Swann, Lince Dorado, and Cedric Alexander going up against Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, and Arya Daivari. Basically, it was the same match from the night before, except Rich Swann replaces Sin Cara. And by the way, Rich Swann, once they're done with TJ Perkins and Brian Kendrick, Rich Swann needs to be the next guy going after the Cruiserweight title. He is over with that crowd. He has won over that crowd. At least more so than most of the other Cruiserweight people who have come up after the Cruiserweight Classic. You could tell the crowd's behind him a bit more than some of the others. You could tell that they're behind Cedric Alexander a bit as well, but I think more so with Rich Swann now. And he's definitely the one that is kind of standing out from that entire group at this point in time. You could see that in this match. Rich Swann does get the pin in this one. I found it to be a fun match, but it does beg another problem. Like, why do all the Cruiserweights always have to be in like a 6-man tag or something like this? We need more story building from everything. Kind of like what we had been getting from Brian Kendrick and TJ Perkins, but a little bit better. And they did do a better job this week of just explaining everything, because obviously Kendrick went over the night before and he explains his reasoning behind the whole, oh, can you just let me win and everything. And I like the aspect that he comes out tonight and explains like, oh, I was just playing mind games and I was pulling at your strings and your emotions because I know you're that kind of guy and I can play that card on you at any given time to get over and win the match versus just going off of full-on ability. So they again have their match. It was the rematch from the night before. A good match between the two of them. That spot where we had seen TJ Perkins do it at the Cruiserweight Classic, but he messes it up a little bit. I don't know if he messed it up a little bit or whatever it was tonight, but he does the Hurricanrana spot, or not the Hurricanrana, but the Frankensteiner spot where he pulls the person over the top rope to go along with it. He walks the top rope and does the Frankensteiner over there, but he lands on his head, and it looked like he could have. It looked like he had severely injured himself, but it looks like that they're going to let these guys do a little bit more of their stuff that they were doing back at the Cruiserweight Classic, because if there had been something that's been lacking from the Cruiserweight division in general since they've come up to Raw, it's been those spots that you had seen in the Cruiserweight Classic where those guys know how to do them and do them safely, but they look like extremely dangerous spots and like only things they could do. And that's a little snippet of what they had back at the Cruiserweight Classic. And maybe it's a snippet of saying, hey, we're going to start letting these guys stand out a little bit more down the road here. The match ends in countout where TJ Perkins wins, where he beats the count in, but Brian Kendrick was like halfway in the ring and then slides back out. I can't tell you how the aspect of wrestling is about believability. And how many times do we see a person slide halfway into the ring and the referee breaks the count? So why don't you break the count here in that case? But for storyline purposes and convenience, they decide not to in this case. So Kendrick gets counted out, keeps the title. I like the aspect of aggression afterwards from TJ Perkins and going after Brian Kendrick for just, taking the easy way out and basically, kind of continuing their feud a little bit for a little bit longer. You would expect them to have one more match or something down the road here. So they're not quite done with this one quite yet between the two of them. So it should be interesting to see where they go with it. Up next was a Mick Foley promo. You got two back-to-back promos. One with him and Braun Strowman. I like the aspect that now you finally got Strowman confronting Foley face-to-face about not having competition. And Foley gets back and fires back at him. It's like Braun wants on the Survivor Series team, so Foley puts him in the Battle Royal later that night, which, of course, Braun Strowman kind of goes over in the... well, not kind of, but does go over, and he chucks out a bunch of guys and everything to that sense. You have a little bit with Cesaro and Sheamus to go along with it, to tease a little bit of dissension, or more dissension between the two of them, especially with the fact that they had a tag match later in the night. And you had this continuation between him and Sami Zayn. Like, I feel like after Survivor Series, you're going to see something between those two. You kind of have to. Like, a full-on match, not like what they had the week before or anything to go along with it. They're kind of, what is it? They're drawing that one out a little bit more. But they put Braun Strowman on the Survivor Series team. I have no doubt in my mind they're going to use Braun Strowman and Nia Jax, who is also going to be on the Raw Women's side, the same way that you would typically see with a big man who's been a big man or what's the proper terminology here? The bigger person in general who's been on this long undefeated streak in Survivor Series matches. How will they protect him within that match? Well, they'll probably have him get counted out or DQ'd or something in that sense. And that's more likely what they'll do with Nia Jax and Braun Strowman at the Survivor Series show. They'll get over a bit, and then they'll get counted out, or they'll get disqualified for some odd reason. And speaking of Nia Jax, speaking of the Nia Jax stuff to go along with it, they had a promo with Charlotte and Bayley. Bayley doing her normal shtick of, trying to be very respectful towards everybody and doing things her way, which even is doing things her way is more of being nice and considerate and showing respect towards everybody in general. And Charlotte basically running down Bayley, saying that, she's on the Survivor Series team, but she knows that Bayley's like the weak link and everything in that sense. You even have like this little tease of Bayley getting a little bit overconfident, a little bit, on the aspect of thinking that she was going to face Dana Brooke again. And then, of course, Charlotte brings out Nia Jax. And you get a little snippet of what they did with Nia Jax and Bayley down in NXT, where, Bayley fights back a little bit, but Nia dominates the match and wins this one in particular. The match came off fine. They got Nia Jax over as very dominant again, and also they're putting Bayley into that position where he's like, okay, she fights back, doesn't get over in this case, but it's going to be one of those things where that when she does go over, it's going to be a little bit bigger to go along with it. So it doesn't end so badly in that case of everything. Now on to Foley's promo from that night about Kevin Owens. It was about like controversy, and they were saying about controversy and everything in that sense within the Hell in the Cell match. Even though no disqualification, they're saying Jericho broke the integrity of the cell by getting inside there and making it basically a handicap match. This is not a bad promo from Foley. In that case, he was also going out there and talking about about Survivor Series to go along with it, and he even brings up Stephanie McMahon to Jericho, saying this, like, Stephanie was so incensed about what Jericho did the night before about getting involved in the match that she was going to suspend him, but he convinced her otherwise to put him on the Survivor Series team. I kind of like that line. I kind of like that little aspect towards everything on that side, because it makes it feel like that Foley really is putting his pride to the side. He doesn't really like Jericho and Owens, but he knows he wants them for the Survivor Series team, so he's putting his pride to the side to make sure that they're in there. And then he also puts Roman Reigns on the team. This eventually leads to Jericho and Roman having a back and forth. This is the same with Owens as well to go along with it, but Owens again, he's supposed to be the main champion of the show, the Universal Champion, and I feel like he's playing second fiddle to Jericho in some way, shape, or form here. It just feels that way. And maybe that's what they're trying to portray to eventually get to a Jericho-Owens feud. But it just makes it feel like, oh, your champion's kind of second fiddle here. Oh, wait, I remember something like that. Oh, yeah, back with Hogan. It was always about Hogan in the end. Though, as a little kid, I can't lie. As a little kid, I loved Hulk Hogan, so there's a lot of good memories of that. But if you would watch stuff now, like Hogan he's like that guy who's always hogging the spotlight and everything in that sense. Even when Macho Man was champion, he was still in the main, the main events and everything to go along with it. So it was just one of those things. And they're kind of playing that off in storyline here with Jericho. What I feel like they're playing off with Jericho and Owens is that like Owens almost feels like he's second fiddle to Jericho right now. At this point in time. This is also where one bit that I really liked from Jericho here. He's realizing that the list is getting over in like the terms of a babyface reaction. So what does he do tonight to try to put heat on himself? Is like he teases about putting somebody on the list, and then says, "No, I'm not going to put Roman Reigns on the list because he doesn't deserve to be on the list." And he says, nobody deserves to be on the list. So he teases it and then takes it away from the fans. And then what do the fans instantaneously do? They boo him for it. So good job from Jericho. He is probably one of the better superstars that have played heel in a long time. He knows how to get them to hate him in some way, shape, or form, and it came off really good. New Day also had a promo backstage. Their promo was basically about the Survivor Series tag team Survivor Series team match, and it's still very weird how they're going to do that. I know they've done it in the past with others. With other Survivor Series, but they were also playing up to the Halloween theme throughout the night, which also speaking of the announcers, first of all, Byron Saxton, yeah, you just look ridiculous. And so did Corey Graves too. His suit was just ridiculous looking to go along with it. Corey Graves, you're great on commentary, but that suit sucked. Byron Saxton, you looked like a big child, so whatever. In that case, you look. I think that was kind of the point of it, of everything. Like, they kind of treat Saxton as a child, so they dressed him up in like a big onesie or something in that sense. Back to the New Day on that one though. They were dressed up as all variations of, well, his most famous variation of the Godfather, but forgetting the name off the top of my head is, I know it's Charles, but played all three iterations of that. Kama, Papa Shango with Xavier Woods, Big E as Kama Mustafa, and Kofi Kingston as the Godfather. I like the little dress up and everything that they played off of it, and then they cut their promo about the SmackDown tag teams and everything in that sense. I even like to the aspect that's like Xavier Woods talks about American Alpha. It's like they're kind of legit to the point that I've got nothing bad to say about them, as they talk like trash about everybody else. Like these are the one guys like, yeah, I can't really talk bad about them in any way. So yeah, it was one of those bits. Not a bad promo from them. It came off rather well, and also the aspect of them dressing up as Kama Mustafa, Papa Shango, and the Godfather came off really well. Came off great as well. You also had Cesaro and Sheamus going up against the Shining Stars. Typical thing here where they come out arguing, they work together well, they go out arguing. So typical stuff from Sheamus and Cesaro in that case. And then you had Roman Reigns going up against Chris Jericho. Of course, Kevin Owens was out there. They cut a promo beforehand saying, "Oh, Kevin Owens, like, since you have my back so much at Hell in a Cell, of course Kevin Owens is going to go out there and have his back tonight against Roman Reigns." The two of them put on a pretty good match between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Or not Kevin Owens, but Roman Reigns and Jericho. I thought they put on a rather good match. It looks like Jericho's about to lose, and then Owens comes in, breaks up the pinfall, causes the disqualification. Lo and behold, now granted, it makes sense in the terms of storyline that Seth Rollins would come out in here, and I liked what they did afterwards because there was no true acknowledgement because of the history and storyline between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins to go along with it. But Seth Rollins comes out, helps clear the ring of Jericho and Owens after the match, again showing no ill effects to the Hell in the Cell from the night before. We'll go back to that pet peeve again at this point in time. But the aspect afterwards, there's like no true acknowledgement between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. It was just a stare down, both of them looking at each other, and that was basically it. Like, you knew the storyline. There was like no handshake, no talk, no anything. I liked that. That was a good way of going about it. I thought it was probably one of the better ways of going about that aspect, that they don't necessarily acknowledge each other. They just know that they're kind of working to get working together out of necessity more than them wanting to actually work together in any way, shape, or form. So it came off rather well in that case. So with that being said, Raw this week was actually not that bad. Then again, like I said, after last week's Raw, it wasn't going to be hard for them to improve themselves after everything was said and done. And yeah, that is my review this week for Monday Night Raw. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day.